Hi, welcome to the Helping Hand podcast, and this is our first video edition. We're going to be fully uploading to YouTube so you can see me as well as hear me at the same time, which is cool. We're going to be speaking to Danielle Simpson, who was an absolute delight to speak to. She is an author of a book called The Mindset Mission, which is a book all about getting the right mindset to deal with stuff like depression, but more than that, just to be in the right mindset to deal with life in general. She speaks about the book, depression that she dealt with, as well as looking after her sisters after her stepmom passed away. This was a fantastic conversation. It was full of amazing stories and even some amazing advice as well. I can't wait to share this story with you. So let's just share it now. Enjoy the podcast, guys.
There we go. That's
Let's do that. If I can't move the mic, I'll just move the whole tripod.
Move me.
Can you just get like right in the wall itself? Like you can lift these up.
Just kiss the wall. Oh dear.
All right, so we're joined by Danielle Simpson. Danielle Simpson. I told you I was going to get it wrong because I overthink things and that's it. It just goes horrible. So Danielle,
Yes.
as your new name is now. No. Danielle.
Yeah.
Danielle. I'm going to go crazy.
Danielle, yeah.
I even tried to say it right that time. And how can I not say a simple name right? Oh my God.
You can call me Danny, it's fine.
Danny.
That's fine.
So we're joined by Danny Simpson
There we go.
today. And you've actually just released a new book. What about the mindset? If I remember right, it's called Mindset Mission, Techniques to Create a Positive Mindset to Achieve Your Potential.
Yeah.
Now, the great thing about me just saying that is everyone at home listening is going to be like, wow, he remembered that off by heart. But everyone watching the video is going to be like, nah, he's clearly reading off a sheet of paper in front of him. It is my cheat sheet. I would have remembered the Mindset Mission. Can you tell me a bit about that book?
Yeah, 100%. So it's split into two parts. The first part is all about my life in 2019 and 2020. And then the second part is lots of amazing techniques that I have now embraced and used on the daily that help with mindset and keep you in a more positive and driven and excited mindset.
So what made you want to make this book, essentially?
So in the beginning, it was literally just for my own healing and my own processes. I was in quite a dark space. So my coach that I was working with introduced me to journaling and was like, get everything down on paper. So I did. I started writing, and to make it a little bit more interesting for myself, I made it into a story. So characterised myself and everyone in the book, and yeah, just would write however I was feeling, but would really go to town and try and make it as shocking as possible. And then in the July in 2019, I started working with a different life coach who introduced me to my publisher, and he just fell in love with the story and was like, "This is great. However, it needs to be non-fiction. It needs to not be a story. It needs to be real so people can relate to you," which I struggled with because I was like, oh God, I don't want people to know that this is my crappy life. So I struggled, but in the end I listened. It took me 6 weeks to come to the conclusion that he probably knows what he's talking about. So then I had to rewrite. So yeah.
Did you go did your eyes roll when you had to rewrite oh, I have to do more work?
Literally, it was homework, set dates as to when stuff had to be due, and I was like, oh my God, this is awful. But once I actually get into the flow of writing, I actually do really enjoy it, and it's not a massive book, so it didn't really take me that long. Plus we was in lockdown, so I had lots of time on my hands.
So because I can imagine the nice bit about writing it as a fictional piece is you almost create a natural layer, you make a bit of distance from that story, from that I was about to say product, but that sounds weird as well, so I'll just say story. You kind of make that bit of distance from it. So is that part of the reason why you found it so hard to make it personal again? Yes and no. I think what my main issue was that literally it's got my name written all over it, so everyone's going to know that this is how, because there are some low parts in the book. So I think for me it was I'm sort of outing myself and I'm really showing my vulnerable side, which as a Leo doesn't really sit great with me. But then also, there are other not characters, other people in my family that are in the book, so I was quite nervous about how they would react to how I felt about certain situations. So yeah, but then when I was rewriting it and as I was writing it actually as truth and my story, it was such a healing process that I highly recommend anyone
to write, if they've got something that they're quite upset about, to actually write it down on paper, because it is such a healing process. Yes, you cry, but it's good to get it out.
What was the hardest part to write about? Like, what bit did you struggle with the most?
So at the end of 2019, I was like questioning my life and like being here. So I think like rewriting that, and actually sort of I didn't have to, but I wanted to sort of relive those feelings so then I could really write down as truthfully as I felt at that time. So that was quite difficult. But I was so supported because I had life coaches obviously at that time working with me. My publisher was amazing. So it was quite difficult to actually go back into that mindset and like try and remember like some of the thoughts that I was thinking. But yeah, I was like heavily supported and, you know, looked after while rewriting it. So yeah, it was.
Was this almost at like the late 2019? Was this a stage of depression?
Oh, massively. Yeah. I was probably depressed like the whole of 2019, to be fair.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, I'd like just broke up with what I thought was going to be the one. And that whole year had just been the movie what's it called?
A series of unfortunate events.
Literally, like that's how I felt my life was in 2019. Just like every single month there was something that, you know, would trigger me. So yeah, I was definitely in depression.
And then you're thinking, oh, things are going to get better of 2020. Then COVID happened. So.
To be honest, though, I'm probably the only person in the world that actually really liked lockdown.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think for me, like, because my dad works away a lot as well, and I look after my two little sisters, like, nobody was working away. Everyone was home, so I knew everyone was safe. And I just sort of could just, you know, get up when I wanted, like... it kind of felt, especially in April, because the sun was out and stuff, it felt like summer holidays. Like, you know, when you was like back as a kid and you generally have 6 weeks off school, that's what sort of like what it felt like. And then I was like meditating like all the time and just dancing around the house, like listening to music and trying to like instill all these tools that I've got in the book.
Yeah.
But I was obviously doing it for myself, not for anyone else. And yeah, I just loved it. And then I had all this time on my hands. So it made me like actually focus on myself, which was nice.
It's funny to me because almost the opposite thing happened to me. I was dealing with depression for quite a while until about 2019, where I started kind of doing my dream job.
Yeah.
And then when COVID happened and stopped my dream job, it was like the rug being pulled under from out under my feet. And that got me into a dark spot for a little bit as well. So it was only because of how deep I went there that I really started thinking about my own mindset.
Yeah.
And it seemed like you went into like the lockdown with the right mindset to begin with. Is that right?
I was just really lucky because obviously I made the decision New Year 2019 that either 2020 is going to make or break me. So this year has to be all about myself, which sounds selfish, but it was the best decision I've ever made. And then in the January, I'd started working with the coach. Obviously, COVID hit, but then we just transformed it onto online rather than face-to-face. So I didn't have to stop that, which was good. And I'd already starting all these techniques and making them into a habit, obviously, before lockdown hit. So for me, yeah, I suppose my mindset had already started shifting. I just obviously hadn't really realised. But yeah, like not having to go to work and pretend to be happy doing an aimless, boring office job, like that was great. Just sitting indoors and pretending it's summer holidays. So yeah, I just loved it. So it was good.
Yeah. What was your family's reaction to reading, like your perspective of things that had happened?
Yeah, so it's been a mixed one. My mum, I suppose my mum feels slightly like, not to blame because that's not the right word, but I don't know. I feel like my mum feels that she probably could have done a little bit more for me, maybe. So I don't know what the right word for that is, but yeah, my brother, he actually thought the book wasn't as harsh as it probably could have been. Yeah. He was like, oh, you left out quite a few bits. And I was like, yeah, well, we don't have to bore them with like, you know, every detail. And then my dad actually, he didn't tell me that he'd read the book. So I didn't know he'd read it until quite recently. So yeah, so that was quite strange to know, to find out that he has actually read it but not communicated about it at all. But then we're not very good at communicating. So.
Was there any particular like family member where you're like, I kind of don't really want them to read it?
Probably my dad. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So when you found that he's kind of secretly read it, that must have made you go, oh no.
Well, I was happy because I was like, I'm glad that he's read it, so then he can see like, you know, how I have felt. But I was a little bit disappointed that he hasn't actually said anything to me, being like, you know, like he's been supportive. Like I had a massive book launch party in the July, and he obviously came to that, and we all had a good time and stuff. But I think for me, I probably would appreciate just I read it and yeah, it's good. Do you know what I mean? But yeah,
just something about it, whether because I can almost picture a form of closure to a certain extent by even if it's agreeing or disagreeing with anything about the book, at least you've got that voice.
Yeah,
if that makes
exactly.
sense.
Like we've
right?
had that conversation. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
So I'm guessing there's quite a bit of like family stories and stuff like that inside the book. What was it that you felt the need to talk about, if that makes sense? That sounds harsher when I said it like that.
No, you're good.
What was the story you wanted to tell?
Yeah, so for me, it was like, depression, like, and having, horrible thoughts about ending things. I just feel like, especially now, like, it's just on the rise constantly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Especially in men as well. And I definitely thought back then, I can't talk about it because I'm going to look weak or, whatever the stigma is around it. So I just wanted to get it out there that it's not a form of weakness at all. Like, and I'm pretty sure everyone has depression at some point in their time. Like something will trigger. It might not be deep depression, but you might get triggered about something. And I tried to go down the NHS route with bereavement counselling and just got put on the world's longest waiting list. Yeah. And I just thought this can't be like that's your only option. Do you know what I mean? So I started reading books, which obviously helped with my mindset. And I was just like, there isn't a book that actually tells you, like, if you feel like this, do this. So I was just like, right, well, I know that these techniques have helped me. If they can help anyone else, then I need to get it out there, really. So, yeah.
What book was the biggest influence to you then?
So it's a book by Doreen, what's her last name? Doreen Virtue, I think is her last name, and it's called Do Not Dull Your Sparkle, and it's basically talking about sort of like your inner light and like your higher version of yourself. But she goes into like scientifically how certain things and trauma can actually sort of shut down parts of your brain that make you really happy and like vibrant and excited and stuff. And it just baffled me that there's like, because well, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist or anything like that. Yeah, I know.
Why aren't you a scientist right now?
I know, sorry. Yeah, I just generally didn't know that there was like so much science to back up like that a trauma in your life can affect your mindset and your brain so much. And it's funny because I actually tried to read that book, I think it was like 3 years ago, and I like picked it up and I just couldn't connect with the book. Like I was just like, oh no, I can't read this. This is just too much. And then when lockdown hit, I was like, oh, I'm going to try that book again. And I literally read it in like 3 days. I couldn't put the book down. And I like highlighted everything. And I was like, wow, this book is like amazing. So I definitely believe that a book, you're meant to read a book at a certain time as well. So if anyone does read my book and you don't like it, just try again later.
I'm like that with my food.
Yeah.
You don't like my potato bolognese, try again in an hour.
Yeah, exactly. When you're hungry, you'll eat it.
Yeah. And I feel like people get the wrong idea when it comes to speaking about trauma as well. Because I feel, especially when you're talking about post-traumatic stress disorder, I nearly said the short lettered version, and I realized I don't remember the letters straight away. And I think when you speak about something like that, everyone assumes, oh, you're a soldier and you shot someone in war or something like that. And it's really not the case. A lot of people suffer from that or have had trauma in a different kind of sense. Yeah, and I think people have a hard time realizing that because of how we view what a trauma is. And sometimes people don't even recognize that they've had a trauma because of that very instinct, because they go, I haven't shot someone, so I can't have trauma. It's like, well, yeah, you do.
No, 100%. Like, some things that I've gone through that, other people might not think are traumatic. Like, it's just down to the person and how you react. But basically what I mean by that is if your mind and your brain goes into fight mode or flight mode, that's you being triggered and your anxiety elevating, and that's you. It doesn't matter what the situation is, but if you're constantly sort of stuck in that thing, then that's you in a traumatic situation. Your body can't stay in that mindset for a long period of time. And if it does, then you're just, something's traumatic. Do you know what I mean? So
it took me personally a very long time to realize that I had it. I was homeless for a bit, or I say a bit, 4 years.
Wow.
And it was only about 2 years ago where I was speaking to a psychiatrist, and it's like a self-help it's not a self-help psychiatrist because they can't be self-helping me. If someone's helping me, that's not self-help at that point. But he was the first one to go like, well, yeah, that's this.
Yeah.
I was like, and it kind of just blew my mind. Like I never really thought about it, and it just suddenly things started making a bit more sense, and it's really helped me just even identifying that.
Yeah, definitely. I think awareness is like key, and I mention it in the book like loads. Like you can't change something or your own opinion about something if you're not aware that it's there. Do you know what I mean? So awareness is so key, and a great way to become aware is talking. Which I'm glad that the sort of stigma about talking about how you feel is sort of still there, but it's obviously reducing slightly now, which is good. But yeah, we've always been told like, oh shush, get over it, build a bridge.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, cool, I completely understand that, but at the same time, like, let me feel my emotions, like whatever that is. So I'm always telling my clients that, like, even yesterday I was having like a bit of an off day. And I literally was like, right, I'm just going to have, like, I had a full day planned of what I was meant to be doing. And I was like, no, I'm just going to go have a day that's completely about me. So I went to yoga, come back from yoga, had a nap, like just literally did whatever I wanted to do because I was like, right, if you're having an off day, just make you happy. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Did you have a similar experience where you didn't really ever identify something as a trauma?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So, like the start of all of this, so my stepmom was an alcoholic, and she suffered massively with depression, and unfortunately the NHS didn't really help her either. They was always like, you've got to stop drinking so then we can help your depression. But then it was just an evil cycle because she couldn't stop drinking because she was depressed. But then
that was her coping.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I remember like sometimes she would just get like so angry and sometimes quite aggressive towards my dad and stuff. And then it would be like me and my little sisters like locked in a bedroom, like waiting to see what was going to happen. Like, is she going to come in? She'd never hurt us, but you just don't know. Like, so I just like, laying in your own room, just like, oh my god, like what's happening downstairs, and like hearing like things being thrown about and stuff. Like, it just wasn't it's not an enjoyable situation. And yeah, like you're triggered then, and you're anxious, and you're waiting for something that you don't know is about to happen. And I never used to think that was traumatic. And it's not until like now where I don't have any situation like that. Do you know what I mean? And like, I don't really feel on edge and anxious and walking on eggshells like hardly ever now. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that was, a traumatic experience because that's not a normal like day-to-day experience that you should be living. Do you know what I mean?
And hopefully it would never be normal.
No.
Would be the hope, right? Yeah. Is that part of the reason you were probably most concerned with your dad reading the book? Is getting his side,
Yeah.
If you were to almost, if you could speak to your dad about it, what would you kind of tell him about it? Because obviously I think, speaking as a father as well, I think there's a part of me that would go, oh, am I to blame for that?
Yeah, so I wouldn't blame him for it. I think, again, down to awareness and like communication. Like we're not very great at communicating how we feel. And I wrote that in the book. I just feel like there were certain situations that he sort of would sweep under the rug and pretend that everything was okay, when actually I feel like if you're just more open and honest about situations and actually sit down and generally talk about it, then things probably might not have escalated as much as they had, maybe. I don't know. But then again, I'm very much in the frame of mind, like, you can't change the past. Do you know what I mean? There's no point dwelling on it. However, what can we learn from it? Which is, right, we need to learn to communicate better, which our relationship's definitely a lot better now, 100%. But yeah, I don't know. I think from me writing the book, I just assumed, which you should never assume, hey?
Yeah.
But I just assumed that I would have got a better reaction from him. But then at the same time, maybe that's his way of dealing with it, is let's not talk about it, because then she'll know that I'll know he's upset about it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, it can be tricky. So what happened in the end of all of that then?
So my stepmom passed away. Okay. And then my dad works away a lot. So I basically become, well, not mum, but big sister that does mum's role, basically.
So was this a while ago?
So this was January 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, that was basically it. So I just felt really trapped. I felt completely alone. Like lots of self-doubt was kicking in. Like, how can I look after these two kids? Like, they've just lost their mum. I still have my mum. Do you know what I mean? Which my mum's like been great. She helps out a lot. But yeah, I just felt like I felt like I was drowning. I literally just had so much responsibility put on my shoulders, and I was just like,
they were
oh
your
God.
sisters?
Yeah, so
right?
they're my half sisters. Yeah.
How old are they?
So now they are 7 and 14. When I started looking after them properly, they were 4 and 11.
4 and 11. Wow. Because obviously we have like a little conversation before the podcast started, and when you told me your sister's age, I imagine that this happened 10 years ago.
No.
So I'm actually quite surprised to find out this is actually so recent.
Yeah, it's still raw.
Yeah. Obviously that's an incredibly hard situation for them to be in, especially if you're like 4. Your mum's your mum, and it's really hard to have any sense of anything at that age.
No,
so
definitely.
You're not just looking after your 2 sisters. I'm guessing you're looking after a grieving family at that point as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like, everyone was grieving, and I sort of felt like my grief had to go on the back burner as such, because you know, she's not my mum, she's not my wife, so I need to look after everyone else, because they're obviously going through a really terrible time. And it was a complete shock that she died. Like, nobody saw it coming. So I just basically like pushed all emotions down and was just like, right, cool, you've just got to make sure that, you know, the house keeps running, basically. Which, again, I now can see that that's me putting extra pressure on myself. Like, nobody ever said to me, oh, you can't grieve, you got to make sure that the house is like spotless and we're all fed. You know what I mean? Nobody ever said that. But that was just obviously me trying to support them the best way that I could. And then, like, dad going away still for work would like cripple my sisters, because they're just like, oh my God, where's dad? When's he coming back? Blah, 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 blah. And I'll be like, oh my God, he's gone to work. Like, chill out. But then again, I'm like, right, okay, now I'm like, okay, well, they're having a meltdown because they've just lost their mum. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and now their dad's not in the house.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're
so
scared.
100%. So yeah, it was just a roller coaster of a year, to be honest.
Did you ever find time to grieve? Because I can imagine it's not healthy in extent.
Yeah, well, I feel like through writing, that definitely helped. And then like every year on her birthday, me and the girls will go do something really, really nice for her, like let off balloons, or do you know what I mean? Like, the girls like write her letters all the time, and then we send it to heaven. So I think through like doing exercises like that, and then also obviously the girls are bigger now, so they understand a little bit more. And my baby sister, like I said, she's 7. She like constantly is talking about her and will draw pictures for her and stuff like that. So we're still very much like, you know, she's still a part of our lives. So it's not like we've, you know, just shut the door and just like, okay, cool, next chapter. But yeah.
One thing, if you don't mind me asking, actually I've got 2 questions. One, do you mind if I ask how she passed?
Yeah, so her liver and kidney shut down due to the alcohol.
Cool. Just 'cause I was curious to that. And the second question is, obviously you had bad moments with her from what I'm understanding. I imagine one of the challenges is, especially for the 4-year-old, they would probably view her as more of a hero. Is that tricky to deal with? Because obviously you might have your own views and your own opinion, but is it hard to not want to push how you feel towards those kids?
It was definitely hard in the beginning, because I did feel massively let down by her. I just thought, what has happened here? Do you know what I mean? Like, why now am I having to deal with the kids like all the time? Do you know what I mean? And not that she's got away scot-free, because obviously she's dead, but I mean,
I can imagine there's a sense of a resentment.
Yeah,
to it
definitely.
Almost.
Like, do you know what I mean? I was 26 and now I've got 2 children that are not mine. And to be honest, before, I didn't have a fantastic relationship with them, because I was just out living my life. Do you know what I mean? And there was, you know, that was my other family, because it was my dad and his new wife, right? So, yeah, there was definitely resentment. But I feel like as times moved on, like, never would I ever badmouth her to the girls, like, never. But I feel like as time has moved on, like, I definitely understand that it wasn't her at the end. Do you know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, depression and this alcoholic had taken over who she was. Like, she wasn't the stepmom that I knew in the beginning, because she'd been in my life since I was 8. So
Okay.
It's not like she was like new on the block. Like she'd been around, but not been around. I mean, she'd been with my dad.
You can rephrase that.
Yeah, cut that out. Yeah, no, she'd been with my dad for ages. So she'd been in my life forever. So yeah, she wasn't the person that she was at the end, unfortunately.
So to you, it's like you almost had two stepmoms in a way.
Yeah, I suppose.
Did you ever? This is a weird question. Did you ever grieve the loss of who she was before alcoholism and depression?
I don't think I actually have. No, I think no, I definitely haven't. I feel like I don't know. I just feel like our relationship definitely changed through obviously her process, and I just feel like by the end of it, I was just like, right, like what is going on? Do you know what I mean? Just like, ah. And then I remember like later on in that year, somebody else passed away, and that hit me so much harder than my stepmom. But now I look back, I don't think it didn't hit me so much harder. I just generally was just like, oh my God, everyone is dying. Like, what is going on? Do you know what I mean? And just sort of went straight back into that flight mode, just like, oh my God, like, so I think I sort of used that person's death to grieve my stepmom's as well, if that makes sense.
I think it makes sense because it gives you that situation where, I don't know, maybe it's like your body going, oh, I can grieve now.
Yeah.
Because you're not putting these responsibilities on yourself.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're able to grieve for everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like that. Yeah, because that must be a strange situation. What was it that compelled you to help looking after your sisters then? Because you said before, like, it's not your responsibility, but obviously you had a sense of responsibility to do that.
Yeah, so like before she passed away, like social services were starting to get involved because Dad was obviously working away all the time, and obviously she just at that point wasn't really in a great place to look after the kids. So Dad approached me and was like, look, can you please leave your job and move back home?
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, okay, cool. And like I said, like me and my dad didn't have a fantastic relationship, so he would never normally ask me for help. So I was like, right, this is serious. And to be honest, I was living up in Manchester, doing what I thought was going to be my dream job, and I was miserable. So it was kind of like, oh, well, this isn't working. What could go wrong? Like, it couldn't be any worse, right?
Yeah.
So quit my job, moved home, and then it obviously got a lot worse. So, yeah.
What was you doing in Manchester then? What was the dream job?
Well, so I was a PT, but I moved into management side of things.
Is that personal training?
Yeah, personal training. And I moved into like the management side of things, and then I was actually renovating gyms for the company that I worked for, which I was super excited about because I was like, I love like new challenges and, like building a gym from new, that's fun. But they put me in a gym that they bought out, so it was Lifestyle Fitness, and then my company bought it out. Yeah. And basically the people that worked at Lifestyle Fitness did not want this change to happen, so literally just put up a fight about everything, even the colour of the uniform. And I was just like, dude, I have not bought your company out. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, don't take it out on me. I'm just here to make the process easier for you. But they were just a fun bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say you took the opportunity with open arms, but I'm guessing that made doing it a bit easier choice.
Yeah. I wouldn't say a run home, but maybe a slight skip. So yeah. I
had to move from Manchester to London before. It wasn't fun. At the end I just kind of went, do you know what? I'm just gonna leave all this stuff in the house.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy more stuff.
I know, yeah.
Because I don't really want to take a fridge all the way from Manchester to London. It's expensive, and it ends up cheaper just to buy a fridge at that point. But yeah, because I'm guessing it's hard to console a 4-year-old. But how because your other sister was 7, did you say?
No, so she was 11 at the time.
11, sorry.
Yeah.
Was you able to help her in the process?
I feel like I've actually found it less challenging with my now 7-year-old sister, the younger one, just because she was more open and would happily say, I miss mummy. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the 11-year-old who's now 14, obviously she's gone into teenage mode anyway, so it's just, a little bit difficult anyway. But she didn't openly, you'd have to sort of dig around a little bit more to see if she was okay. Like all the schools were fantastic though, and like, gave them like counselling and stuff like that. And
Well, that's a great question, actually. I didn't think about that because did they have any help for them offered apart from the schools?
So because obviously we was involved in social like care, we did have social workers that would still come in and just check on them and stuff, and they gave us lots of different websites and extra care and stuff. But the schools were both absolutely fantastic. That, to be honest, we didn't really feel that we needed to go like down other counsellors. Do you know what I mean? I feel like don't have too many kitchens in the cooks in the kitchen. Too many
kitchens in the cook.
Yeah,
it's a horrible process.
Yeah. So like I said, the schools were doing amazing. So we just sort of left it down to them to.
What was it about the schools that made that good then? Because I'm curious, because we do have teachers that listen to this as well, and I would love to hear what you thought made the process so good.
Like both schools, so obviously we had one in primary school and one in secondary school.
Yeah.
Both of them brought me in and sat me down and asked if I needed help as well, which was really sweet.
Yeah.
They had so in the secondary school it's called pastoral care. I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
So I'd always laugh and say it was pastor care. But basically it's a group of counsellors that are at the school all the time, and if my big little sister ever had a moment, she could literally just hold up this little card and be like, I need to leave this class right now.
Yeah.
And go see them. So that was good, that she felt that she could obviously leave when she wanted. But then at one time she did take the mickey a little bit. And I was like, no, you're missing this one class quite a lot. So I'm picking up on your thing. But yeah, like for instance, my little sister now, she's still, every Tuesday, a golden retriever comes into school, and they're a counsellor dog, and she goes out and plays with the dog, and I'm just like, hang on a minute, what's going on here?
That's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
I want a golden retriever here just to come every week.
Literally. But so they definitely, I don't know, they just made me feel really comfortable knowing that they were watching a little bit closely, because I feel especially in secondary school, do you know what I mean, you can just turn into a number, whereas they didn't. They my big little sister was completely looked after, so yeah, it was good.
That's glad to hear, because it felt like when you're talking about the social services, it feels like just getting a link doesn't feel very good.
No,
because Google can do that.
Yeah,
Google can give me loads of links in a second.
To be fair, obviously we had a social worker that would talk to us all the time, and she'd call me all the time and stuff like that. So yeah, it wasn't just a link, but technically, yeah, they just gave you a bit of a pamphlet being like, oh, here's extra help if you need it. But yeah, she was always on the other end of the phone if I needed her. So
that's good. Yeah. Did you ever take her up on that?
Not really for myself. But yeah, actually tell a lie. Sometimes I would message and just be like, I feel like I'm drowning. Is it okay to lock myself in a bedroom and let the kids do what they want? And she's like, yeah, that's completely fine as long as you're in the house. I was like, okay, fine. So yeah.
You can hear the lock on the other side of the phone.
Literally just sitting in the bathroom pretending to have a bath, but just no, just go away. So yeah, no, she was beautiful. She was lovely, really nice girl.
All right, that's good to hear. Has any of what you've heard in these situations helped you with getting the right mindset, or put you on that path? Because I'm curious to how you went from essentially training bodies to training minds.
Yeah, so I've always obviously had a drive to help people. And in the beginning in personal training, I absolutely loved it. I really did. However, I sort of lost that satisfaction because there's only so many times that you can hear somebody say they want abs for holiday. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, right, cool.
I just want to get in that swimsuit.
Yeah, exactly. So does all the other 200 people. But yeah, cool. So when I because I massively fell into this industry, do you know what I mean? It was all through helping myself, and which sounds selfish, but yeah, helping myself, and then realising that actually, this is such a rewarding industry to be in. So I don't, what was the question? I've talked myself out of the question.
I think you kind of started answering it anyway. So it was just generally how you went from training bodies to training minds. Yeah.
So yeah, it's literally just the want of helping people, really.
Yeah. So. It seemed like you kind of naturally segued into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I had not a lapse, but a weird bit where I worked up London as an account assistant and just knew that wasn't for me. I couldn't, the commute, I hated sitting at a desk every day. I just knew it wasn't for me, but...
Don't tell me it was the Central line.
No, actually Piccadilly.
Oh, that's just as worse. You go in there, it's the summer, everyone's packed tightly.
Literally.
You can't breathe
No.
for about half hour of that commute. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was
I
like,
fully
no,
understand that.
this isn't my life. I can't do this until I die. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
we're never actually retiring anymore, are we? So, you know.
No.
So, yeah.
No, I can't picture retirement at all.
No.
Probably 90 years old, I'm going to be on this podcast.
I'll come back and talk if you're happy. Love it. But yeah, no.
So
I don't
how's your mindset been in these
Yeah.
last 60, 70 years?
What's new?
I'm on my
God.
28th book now. Actually, would that be slow or fast?
Oh, I don't know. That's maths, and I only got.
That's
C in
like,
maths.
okay.
I can't do that quick maths.
So I had the opposite problem with everyone else. Everyone was decent at English. I never understood spelling. It just never made sense to me. Maths just made sense.
Yeah.
I could do that. No
Uh-huh.
problem. But yeah. So obviously you've published this book now.
Yep.
How long has it been out for now?
So it was on pre-sale from May, but then officially out since July. So
Perfect. Have you managed to hear any stories back from people that have read your book?
yeah, I've had
Tell me about them.
such beauty, like the feedback. I've only had 1 or 2 negatives, and the rest has just been absolutely beautiful. But so many people saying that they can massively relate and like, thank you so much for being so open and honest and vulnerable. A couple friends being like, holy crap, you're an amazing actress, because we had no idea you felt that way.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of time with depression and mental health, you do hide it.
Oh,
Some of the
100%.
happiest people you know probably have it as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I don't know, I felt like at the time, well, I felt like some of the people that I was communicating to, which now I'm very aware and not picky, but picky as to who I tell things to, because like nobody's ever been, malicious or horrible or anything like that. But, people don't, well, unfortunately now society, everyone has so much going on, and like we're constantly overloaded with information constantly that people just look out for themselves, which is completely understandable. And I'm not saying that at all. But then if you're trying to reach out to somebody to actually ask for help and they're just bombarded with life as it is and, their own crap, 9 times out of 10, they're just like, oh yeah, I completely hear what you're saying. And then that's it. Or my worst one is, oh yeah, but so-and-so has it worse than you.
Oh my God.
And I'm just like, right, cool. I don't actually give a flying. Do you know what I mean?
It's not an argument.
No, and I'm not trying to win who's got the saddest story. I'm just sad at the moment and need to obviously vent it out.
I've funny enough had almost the opposite of this experience. I don't know if you've had this as well, but someone has started speaking to me about a grievance they've had or a sad day they've had or a sad moment, and they go, I'm not comparing it to when you were homeless or something. I'm like, no, it's not a comparison. If you feel sad, you feel sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about whether someone else feels sad or more sad.
No.
Because if we play that game, then the only person that can be sad is whoever had the worst experience in their life.
Literally. It's like out of the movie. So earlier we mentioned 4 Weddings and a Funeral, but is it Notting Hill? When, is it Julia Roberts? It's Notting Hill. When she goes to a dinner party with Hugh Grant, and then they all have like it's a last shot or a last bit of cake or something. I can't remember what it is, but they all go around the table and basically talk about the worst thing and why they deserve that last shot or bit of cake or whatever it is. And it's just so funny because like normally, you're all sitting there praising each other and like, oh, I've had the best day. But I just love that they all sat there and just, well, I'm like, one of them's in a wheelchair and he's like, well, I'm in a wheelchair, so of course I deserve the cake. And I'm like, that's brilliant. Like, but
I want, whenever someone does that, I want to start doing a trend where we do the opposite.
yeah,
Like, no, you don't deserve to be happy.
No.
Because that person, he got to fly a plane for the day.
yeah, exactly.
And for the Queen.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to be happy. What, you think you should be happy because you got something free at Subway?
Yeah.
Oh.
Literally. No, exactly.
And I feel like you have to do that almost to get people to understand how kind of silly that idea is.
No,
Because it is silly.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't even know how we got to that trail
No.
at all.
No,
You were talking about your experiences with people that read the book.
Yeah. So I've had beautiful comments. Like so many people have made me cry, like happy tears.
Yeah.
Made me cry just from their like really positive words. But yeah, it's been good.
Was there any comment that just really got to you? Like, in terms of positive,
Yeah, so actually a lady that I used to work with up London at this accounts management job, she, like, we used to get lunch together every single day. And she just messaged me and she was just like, I am so sorry that I did not pick up on like how you was feeling. And I was like, no, like, you don't have to be sorry.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? I wasn't coming in and, you know, going to slip my wrist at my freaking desk. Do you know what I mean? So that really got to me, because then I felt like, oh God, like now I've upset her because she felt that she wasn't there for me. Do you know what I mean? So that got, like, literally burst into tears when talking to her. But apart from that, no.
It's really hard to spot the signs, especially if you don't know what you're
100%.
looking for, and especially if you're just not looking for it.
And I wasn't openly like walking around like, hi, I'm depressed, guys, like, you know, with a t-shirt on. Like, I was obviously trying to hide
My
it.
name's Danny Depressed.
Yeah. Literally. So, you know, and like, I don't do as so much now, but if I'm really upset about something, then I do shut down and go quiet. So if there's a problem and I'm quiet, watch out.
I'm really worried that during this podcast she's just going to
I'm just going to shut down.
Like, so how is your bookings like? Oh no.
How was the tea? No. I'm joking. So you know, my mum obviously knew there was an issue, but again, I didn't really talk to my mum a lot, because she would just, like, again, not being horribly, but she would just get angry that I'm in this situation in the first place. Yeah. And then, like, just start shouting about everything else. And I'm just like, oh, you're not listening to what I'm saying. Like, you're just getting angry because obviously you're mad that I'm in this situation, but you're not helping me by shouting. So I pretty much stopped talking to everyone apart from one friend. And then obviously once I got coaches, then I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, because this person has no idea who I am. There's no judgment. They don't interrupt. Do you know what I mean? And it was just like such a freeing situation to just say whatever I wanted to say and know that nobody's going to get hurt by it, or do you know what I mean? So yeah, it was good.
And I think for me personally, what's just helped is being able to talk about it and feeling like you're being listened to.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel when I was talking about these situations, people were trying to give me the answer.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think you spent a lot of time thinking about the answer yourself, that all you kind of really need to do is just to talk about it, because when it's all in your head, everything plays a lot more bigger. So, and it's so weird, because sometimes you talk about it and the problems just sound smaller now. Like, oh, this will pass. Yeah. I don't know if it's a similar experience you had speaking to the life coaches, but for me, that was personally one of the biggest moments where I was like, oh.
No, 100%. And that's like what you get taught, like becoming a coach. They literally call it like listen like a rock. And I remember like when
a rock doesn't have ears.
Well, they do. But no, I remember like in my exam, you know, I had to get case studies and stuff. And I remember like I had to sit there for 10 minutes and literally not say a word. Like if I nodded my head as to say like, I agree with what you're saying, then I would have immediately like failed. So I was literally sitting there just like, don't move, like blink, and that's it. But it was such a, like powerful experience, because you are literally listening to every single syllable that person says, because your focus is completely on them. And then they get so much from the session as well, because you're not interrupting, you're not agreeing with whatever they're saying, you're not disagreeing, you're literally just focused on them. So it is such a powerful thing. And I was struggling, because I was just like, oh my God, like what if she thinks I'm not interested because I'm not even nodding? Or but yeah, it's listen like a rock. It's I highly recommend.
So yeah, no, I can 100% see the value in that. Just some of my biggest breakthroughs is just me talking out a problem and just going, oh yeah, actually, that's it. That's why I feel like that. That's why I do this. Yeah. 100%.
So talking and actually journaling as well, like seeing it on paper.
Which is almost a form of talking as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like just talking to yourself or the page. But I like to, I tell my clients, like, once it's down on paper, you've actually given the journal the responsibility of whatever the situation is. So you can kind of make space in your mind to wait or to think of solutions. Because I think sometimes you can have something in your mind and you just overplay it, and you're trying to find an answer, but you can't find the answer because all you're doing is thinking about the situation. So if you sort of just put it down and just do like a bit of a mind map, or whatever you call it nowadays, it used to be called a brainstorm, didn't it? Yeah. But yeah, so if you just do that and just like literally like, why do I feel this way? Is there a solution? Like if you start asking yourself these questions, then you will find the answers, because of course you have the answer inside you. So
So obviously your book deals with techniques as well, like techniques to help you achieve that right mindset. I'm going to take away the journaling and the talking because we've already said that. And I just want to not give you an easy out for this question. But if someone's listening right now that feels like they might have a sense of depression or they're not in the right mindset, which I think even if you have depression or not, if you feel like you're not in the right mindset, then that's already a good sign.
Yeah.
Well, like, not a good sign, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
What tip could you share with them?
So meditation massively helped me. Literally just 5 minutes a day, just sitting there, and obviously 9 times out of 10 in the beginning I'd do a guided meditation, so some stranger on an app would tell me what to think about. But just literally sitting there and just bringing the focus back to you, because when you feel overwhelmed and anxious and, you know, just feel like you're completely out of control, just bringing control back to yourself and focusing on your breath for literally 5 minutes can completely change everything, like your whole, you know, mood, the way your body carries, like everything can relax. So yeah, meditation massively. In the book also there's a chapter called Mood Boosters, and basically I'm all about sort of bouncing back. So yes, you've had something sad happen, because of course sad things are still going to happen. It's not like you walk around in this massive like happy mindset and nothing bad happens, but it's all about being able to manage how long you stay in that mindset, in the like negative, or I call it the unkind mindset. So mood boosters, so one of them might be dancing around. Like on my Instagram there's always a video of me dancing in the kitchen, because I literally hate loading and unloading the dishwasher, which I know is a very first world problem. But I like put some music on, and then all of a sudden it's a bit like what Mary Poppins said, do you know what I mean, a spoonful of sugar and dancing around.
But
like
the funny thing is I do the exact same when I'm washing up the plates.
Yeah,
I'm playing my music and I'm singing. And I'm just singing loudly as I do it. I'll have like a glass of wine.
Yeah, you just have fun doing it. So music is massive, and I'm always telling my clients, like literally my clients will message me something bad that's happened, and I'm like, right, cool, put your playlist on. Like we have a whole playlist that they can go through. Taking a nice hot bath, walking, like getting out. Like I'm lucky enough that I have a dog, so literally he's an English bulldog, so he hated me during lockdown because I'd literally be like, I'm sad, off we go, and he'd be like, no, I don't want to go out for a walk. But yeah, being out in nature. But yeah, there's loads of different mood boosters, but meditation massively. I feel like it's kind of getting out into society a little bit more to like just take that time for yourself. But before it was very much like, oh, well, I'm not, you know, a monk or a yoga person, so I can't meditate. Whereas actually, you know, if you've got 5 minutes in a day, you can definitely meditate.
I've not actually tried meditation before. No. Like, how would I actually start if I wanted to?
So a little plug. But I've got a program coming out in the new year, which is basically like how to meditate. So there's like loads of videos that you like, an intro videos where I teach you exactly how to meditate, and then it's an 8-week course that every week you get a new meditation that you have to do daily. But basically all you do is get comfortable, make sure you're in a place that you're not going to be disturbed, because there's nothing worse than falling into a meditation and then somebody opening the door or the postman knocking on the door.
That would definitely be my 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Dad.
Literally. So yeah, try not to be disturbed. And then there's so many apps out there. So I personally use an app called Insight Timer. And they literally have meditations from 5 minutes up to an hour, which who has an hour to meditate? Like nobody has that much time. But I also help myself go to sleep with meditation. So every night now I have to have meditation music on, otherwise I'm not getting to sleep. And when I sleep, I'm talking like dribbling, snoring, I'm out. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not waking up for a solid 8 hours. So
if you're not waking up with a wet dribble patch on your pillow,
you have not had a good night's sleep. Yeah. So any future boyfriends, I apologise. But tough. You're going to have to listen to the music and deal with the dribbles, because I'm not changing that.
I love going to sleep with white noise though. Particularly, I think my go-to is like rain on a car.
Yeah.
Love that. I fall asleep so quick and so deep with that on.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know why.
It's madness, isn't it? Like, because you'd think that your brain would be like working overtime to work out what it is, but it doesn't.
I think it allows me to give something for my mind to focus on without trying to sing along to it. If I was listening to music, right? It gives my mind something to focus on, which stops my mind just going around in my head. Because the first thing I do when I go to sleep and I don't have that playing is, but did I actually turn the oven off?
Oh.
is that front door actually locked?
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, it takes you like 2 minutes to check that, but it takes your daughter 2 minutes to get out that front door.
Literally,
right?
yeah.
Maybe you should check it. And it doesn't matter how certain I am
Yeah.
that I've locked something. Oh, it stresses me out.
Oh god. So back at when I used to be manager of the gym, we used to have like a massive checklist as to how to shut down the gym properly and
whole
stuff like
closing
that.
checks.
Yeah. And like literally I'd do it every single day and I knew what I was doing. But if I didn't have that checklist printed so I could physically tick it off, then I would be there all night, like literally running around and double checking everything. So which is funny now because now I have to have to-do lists for everything that I do in life. So yeah, it's quite funny.
I mean, I've done this when I was a store manager. I would lock the front door and I would walk about 10 minutes to the train station and then start walking back.
No, to double check.
Yeah, to double check that the door's shut. Because it was like, but what if it's not?
Yeah.
Right? Because that job's worth this much per year. And is you, oh wow, I went really bad grammar there.
You walking back.
Is it worth going back for that 10 minutes to secure that salary?
Literally.
Like, probably
You missed
yes.
the last train, but it's worth it.
Oh my God, it's stressing me out. That summed up a lot of my personality very quickly, didn't it? Actually, yeah.
Love it. I feel like you need meditation.
I should try it. I'm actually tempted after this. I'm curious to what is it like. I'm trying to figure out like what fundamentally about it helps, because I get like the idea of like trying to just be comfortable. Is it about trying to get comfortable in your own head? That helps.
So it's mainly just about focus and awareness on yourself, like for yourself. But through meditation, I've become way more creative, way more patient about silly little things. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't like blow up if somebody cuts me up on a motorway now, whereas before I would completely lose my head. But I think also, like the analogy I like to use with my clients is that you've got a glass of wine and like if you put any more wine into it, you're gonna overspill. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you need to take that self-care and just, even if it is 5 minutes, just to focus on yourself, to calm yourself down and just have more peace and just more calmness in. And I think everyone can benefit from it, because at the minute, you know, like day-to-day life is just so stressful and so hectic and so full on that it's just beneficial.
I can also imagine, and I could be completely talking out my ass with it, because I don't know, because I haven't done meditation.
No judgment.
So like I might start speaking, you're going like, oh my God, this guy is so wrong with it. But I can almost imagine what helps is learning to be able to talk with yourself to a certain extent. Because I remember when I was feeling so bad, I wouldn't want to talk with myself, as weird as that sounds. I didn't want to listen to my own thoughts. I'd go everywhere. I have headphones in. I'm at home. I'm listening to YouTube. I'm playing a game that doesn't have music, so I'm listening to something else in the background. I would completely overload myself, which is kind of something you touched on earlier.
Yeah.
We overload ourselves. So I'd never wanted to speak with myself, essentially. And I started going to the park and just reading a book and not having music or anything like that. And this was when I was at the lowest during the first lockdown. And I eventually kind of just started talking to myself. And it was only at that point that I started getting better. I was like jotting down how I felt, almost journaling.
Yeah.
But I was trying to think. I remember one thing I was trying to do was writing down problems I have and then asking myself seriously, do I want to improve that? And I think that's the difference, because I remember one of the problems was like, oh, I'm overweight. Do I want to fix that right now? No. But it is a problem, and I do want to fix it eventually, but it's not right now. And then I'd look at the next step. And I had that long conversation with myself, and it was only then I started getting better.
Yeah, so you was actually coaching yourself. Like that's basically one of the first sessions. We look at areas in your life that you want to improve, and then we rate them out of 10. So 1 being you're so like not satisfied, and 10 being you're satisfied, you're happy, it's fine. And again, with coaching, one area might be a 2.5 and one area might be an 8, but at that time you want to focus on the 8. Like that's completely fine as well. But yeah, you basically become aware of where you're at currently in this moment in time, and then you sort of set action points or little tasks that you can manage within the next week or 2 weeks or whatever, to make it 1 number higher or even a point higher, like half a point, higher. Because it's very unrealistic to be like, oh, well, I feel like a 2, like in, let's just say fitness, for example, I feel like a 2 in fitness. Next week I'll be a 10 because I went gym once. Like, no. Do you know what I mean? Like you'll be a 3 or a 3.5 because you went gym once or you joined the gym or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But you need to make it realistic and achievable at the same time.
I mean, even 1% in a week, right? If you improve by 1% a week, a year later you've improved by 50%.
Yeah, massively.
It feels like a small change, but over time it's a massive change.
No, 100%. And also, like, on that journey, you know, I don't know, again, we'll use fitness, but, you know, say we work together 6 weeks and you get that 2 up to a 5 because you're going regular and you've understood your dietary needs and whatever. And then, I don't know, you go to Cancun for 2 weeks and you just drink the whole time and you put on a stone again. Like, your number might go back down, which that's completely fine as well. Like, just because it's on the rise doesn't mean it's not going to drop back down. And if it does drop back down, that's not a bad thing. Like, so yeah, it's just a journey, isn't it? And it's just becoming aware of where you're at that current point in time.
When you're going through these numbers with people, what's probably the most common ones? Like, do you see like a trend where you normally get somewhere and you're like, this is going to be the low number? Yeah.
So, well, not particularly in areas because obviously everyone's got different things that they want to bring to coaching. But it always, at the beginning of sessions, it always starts with low numbers. And I'm talking like, you know, I've actually had one woman say she wanted to put -10. And I was like, that's not on the scale. Like, one is the lowest. You can't have -10. I was like, so we got to change your mindset like right now because I'm not putting -10 on the scale. Like, you're taking the biscuit. So
you're taking the biscuit.
You are like, what's up, we are. So they always start low, and then obviously as the weeks go on, they do increase, massively. Sometimes not by much, but an increase is an increase. So
yeah. For a 3.1, it's still higher than a 3.
Exactly.
And that's something to celebrate still.
Yeah, 100%.
It's been an absolute delight talking to you, and it's been so fun as well. I'm gonna give meditation a try tonight if I can as
cool.
well.
I'll send you the link. So the
please
app,
do
the app. So you can.
Yeah. And how can if I wanted to, I'm listening right now. I want to buy this book. I want to find out more about it. Where am I going? How do I find it?
You can go on Amazon, or you can go into Waterstones in Bluewater or Maidstone, and it's on the shelf. I know.
Did you take a picture of it?
Of course I did.
You went in to go sell.
Like, I was like, oh my God. Or you can just go on the Waterstones website and order it, obviously, to your house.
Brilliant. I can't imagine much else being cooler than seeing your book in like a store, just going like.
It was a magical moment, and I took my little sisters with me so then they could be excited about it too. Which the baby. Well, she's not baby, she's 7. But
she's always going to be a baby.
Yeah, she's always going to be the baby. But it was funny because there was like a photographer at Bluewater taking pictures of Bluewater. So I don't know if they were changing their website or something. And my little sister was like, oh, Danny, the paps are here for you. And I was like, babe, they have no idea who I am. They're definitely not for me. And she was like, no, shall I tell him? And I'm like, let's just go into Waterstones, please. Like, don't embarrass me. So, but the managers now, they're really sweet. Like, because I like to sometimes just check to see, you know, if the book's still there and stuff. And I've like walked in and they're like, hi, Danielle, like, how are you? And I'm like, oh my God, hi. Like, it's still very overwhelming and a bit crazy. But yeah, so yeah, Waterstones or Amazon. And then they've got my website, so Danielle Simpson, I think it's .com. And then Instagram, Danielle Simpson. So yeah.
Perfect. We'll try and put those links in the description as well. I think this is going to be one of the first ones we put on YouTube as well.
How great.
This is cool. We've got videos now.
Yeah.
There's cameras everywhere.
Love that. No, thank you so much for having me.
Is there anything you wanted to say?
No, I've absolutely loved it.
Perfect. Yeah. Have an amazing day. And thank you so much for being on the podcast.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Brilliant. And that brings us to the end of our podcast. I would firstly like to thank you for listening. Take care. Remember to hug your children. And always remember that there is someone there to give you a helping hand.